Welcome to another episode of Your Music is Bad and You Should Feel Bad with Matt and Blake. He's Matt, I'm Blake. Today we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about the new Avantasia and the not as new Blood Incantation because it's from 2024 and we got to it late, but it's good, so we have to talk about it. Matt?
It's fine.
Where do you want to start?
Look, it's... I just listened to it, so it's new to me. And
oh boy.
Well, that was one of the reasons. Okay, so actually, one of the reasons we're talking about it is because it was on some top 10 or top lists of 2024, and we went over those lists. We didn't really have enough to do an episode on them, but a few standouts, such as our previous episode about Fellowship and how bad it was and how fake the guitars were. Yeah, prove me wrong. You can't, because they are, and if
they're awful.
And if you can't tell, you're not good at guitar playing.
Yeah.
So
and you should feel bad.
you can't.
Music sucks.
You can't even
it's
sweep. You can't even sweep, bro, because there's the sweeps. Sweeps are fake. I know that because you gotta sweep. Anyway, what was I talking about? Doesn't matter. Okay.
I think we're talking about Blood Incantation. And
Blood Incantation was on this list.
Looking at them in the first place. Yes.
And it was correct, because the thing is, so they've had some hype going for a few years now. And the first time I heard about them was with their album, The Hidden History of the Human Race, because they're basically Ancient Aliens, the band, okay? And they've continued that theme with this new album, Absolute Elsewhere. It's split into 6 tracks, but they're actually like 2 pieces, like 2 side-long pieces that each have 3 parts to them. And one
tablets.
of them,
they call them tablets.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that. But one of them
it's in the thing.
The first one is the Stargate, and the second one is the Message. So, again, Ancient Aliens, the band, continued. I liked Hidden History of the Human Race, but I had a lot of nitpicks. I didn't quite find it as unbelievable as a lot of people. This album, I like Absolute Elsewhere more. And it's like, and then we're going to talk about why, because this one, I feel like they grew, and their whole thing is like a combination of death metal and classic prog. But, a lot of bands could be described that way, but that sounded nothing like this. Like we could say Opeth in some ways is sort of like that, but this is okay. We liked the last Opeth, but this is way better than Opeth's classic prog inspired albums.
So I was thinking about a cute tagline for this, and I never quite got to it, but I'm still kind of, for some reason, workshopping it in my head, and I think maybe it's just how I want to describe how I would describe this band, quick and easy to someone if they say, hey, what do you think about Blood Incantation? Or at least in particular this album. What if Major Tom went through the Stargate and he found Slayer and Pink Floyd had a baby? That's this album. It's really good.
Yeah, that's not bad, because there's one of the cool things about this album is that while you can hear the prog influence on Hidden History, this one, it's like you hear different prog influences, and there's a lot more contrast in the sound. They apparently bought a lot of synthesizers. I heard they bought thousands of dollars worth of vintage synthesizers. But then I was watching the behind the scenes documentary, which I didn't get through all of it, but it talked about how they had some synths left from previous albums. Like they did a whole album that was just synth. It was like an ambient synth odyssey, and that one I didn't actually listen to, because when you describe something as ambient, to me that just tells me it's aimless and doesn't go anywhere. And maybe there's exceptions to that, and actually I might go back and listen to that one now, but this album is not ambient. It has a lot of synths, some very good synths. It has a guy from Tangerine Dream on one track, and the synths work really well, and I actually think the guitar tones and the death metal parts are better on this album too. They weren't bad on the previous one, but they're clearly going for a classic like they're not going for like a modern metal sound. It's not over compressed. And there was something about on the previous album how they like ran all the effects like before the speaker cab, but like as if that was how bands always did it in the past. But that's actually not true. Plenty of bands would like record guitars and then add effects like in the console. So like it sound and it makes certain effects sound kind of sloppy, and some people like that aesthetic. I didn't care for it as much, but I think the guitar tones on this album are better regardless of how they did them, and the sort of retro aesthetic and production works better on this one in my opinion. And maybe it's because the synths adds an extra layer, and there's also just more dynamics in the sound. Like you said, there's like a clear like Pink Floyd section. There's some clean vocals. I don't think there's a clean vocals on the previous one. It's really good. It's all around. It's really cool behind the scenes documentary, which I only just got to the other day, and I didn't finish it, but it was really interesting too. They went to this famous studio in Berlin where I have notes. Hansa Studios,
That's
where Tangerine Dream and Brian Eno and lots of people have recorded there. And
totally also worked with one of the guys from Halas, however you want to say that band's name, which is a fun band that we should maybe talk about at some point. I don't know if they have anything new or not, but that guy's influence could make a lot of sense on some of the old school and spacey stuff, because I haven't listened to much of this band before, so I don't know exactly where they're coming from. But Halas is a fun amount of the whole very old school sound, and I think if that was his influence, that's a good thing for this band.
Yeah, I definitely think it contributed something. I'd be interested. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with them, and I'd be interested to hear more of them. But yeah, this album, it has, like, again, they had the sort of retro prog aesthetic, and maybe there might have been some synths, but it was less prominent. And there was the effects and the spaciness, but mostly focused on guitars. And it was more clear that they were like a death metal band. This one, it felt more like they were a prog band that also does death metal. And they even said that when they were doing the ambient album, they only used 70s synths because they were going for like a very 70s kind of thing. Nice. And then this one, they added some 80s ones because they wanted a more broad sound, like still clearly retro, but, you know, mixing different decades, which I think gives it something more novel sounding.
Sure.
The guy also said in the documentary that they used a lot of, like, because of that studio, they used a lot of like 50s mics, which are, they said, were organic and dynamic and not necessarily brutal. But I think again that added something.
It's supposed to be brutal,
and there's all kinds of
brutal stuff.
It still definitely gets brutal. So I don't know, but
interesting. I guess maybe I'll have to watch this documentary at some point because I didn't. I was aware of it, but
it's very good. It's in fact, I want to finish it, and I actually made a note that the documentary itself was really good for just a little like studio documentary. There were some cool editing effects, and like there's this one time where they're at this studio and they're sitting like outside the windows, and because they're smoking weed, because apparently that's something to do a lot, which is not surprising.
Well, they're from Denver. So.
There's also a part in the documentary where one guy goes like, "Oh, let's go smoke now," and the other guy like looks high already, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do that." And it's like, okay. But again,
they're from Denver.
There's this really cool drone shot that like flies into the area by the buildings and then turns and flies past them sitting outside the window in through the window. It's like a fantastic drone shot. Wow. And so I think this was a great piece of content, which I happened to be noticing at the same time as, you know, follow up to our previous episode, Nevermore announced they've picked their new members, but they don't seem to be doing
content.
Yeah. So like, way to drop the ball on the content does not bode well for the new band, because like that's a big part of being a band now. And Blood Incantation is doing a fantastic job with content, and it's like, it's not that hard. It's just like, show us. Also, like, did they not? Okay, this is pure speculation, but it makes it sound like they since they're not going to show us that they brought them in to audition in person, it makes it seem like also maybe they didn't. Like they're just like pick somebody from their YouTube audition, and that's like a really big risk, and I feel like will not go well. But who knows? We'll see. But mostly I'm
sure
pissed
we'll find out
because they're not doing content. So
that's fine.
Yeah, this album, it was really good. It's weird. I feel like it got less attention than Hidden History of the Human Race, maybe because they were like a newer band and now they already have the hype. And so like maybe people were like, well, of course this is good, and then didn't want to put it as high on their lists and stuff or hype it as much because they wanted to hype
it was way up on all the lists, so I feel like it was
on a lot of
very
lists.
hyped.
But there was some talk even on like Angry Metal Guy about it, like some people didn't put it that high, or like I think, or maybe Angry Metal Guy himself put it in his like honorary mentions because he was like
number one on their year-end list.
On their like the aggregate.
I thought so.
All right. Well, now I have to look it up because I sound like an idiot if I'm wrong about it.
It didn't get any hype. It was number one on. I could be wrong.
I'm not saying it didn't get any hype, but it was like
less hype.
But it did not make the aggregate, and I think. Okay, how do I find Angry Metal Guy's individual? Because I think he put it on his
good
like.
Luck.
I think he put it on his like honorable mention, like not top 10, but still pretty good. And anyway,
So that's not a good list. Oh, yoy. The point is, this is an excellent album. We need to listen to more of this band. I need to listen to more of this band, certainly. I guess I have to watch a documentary. I don't usually do that, and especially it's like 70-minute documentary with like a 45-minute album. I'm like, well, somewhere the balance there is wrong, but
I don't know. Maybe I don't see all of it, but like I found it interesting. It was well made, and you'll see many skullets because a lot of these guys have like
again they're
long
from
hair.
Denver.
And, yes, I think they have the most skullets per capita of any band I'm familiar with.
It's going to be a lot of skullets, but I guess we'll see how that goes. I wish I had more to say about this album because it is so really good, but it was hard to pick out real specific ways in which it was good because it blended so well, and it was everything was good, and it wasn't like, oh, I really like, well, yeah, I do like the production, and I do like the guitar tones, and I do like the spacey blah blah blah, but it's not like, oh, this thing sucks. or this part sucks. Not like when I have to listen to Bob Catley again in an Avantasia record.
Oh yeah, nice segue. All right.
Which,
so the Blood Incantation now is very good, and you should listen to it if you haven't, which you probably have because it came out last year.
12 months ago. It's fine.
But we in contrast. And this is a new format we're experimenting with, where we will review two things: one that is good, one that is bad, because often one or the other there's just not enough to say about it. So we're gonna let's talk about both of them and make it one episode, and then I won't have to do any awkward cutting to try to make it seem like we recorded them at two different times.
It should be fine.
And I have a lot of notes. I actually have a lot of notes on Avantasia.
Well, I feel like there are a lot of things to say, and it's partially because of what Avantasia is. It's here's 9-10 singers, whatever the hell it is, and you can nitpick each and every one of them. But I do want to say, on an overall note, maybe two overall notes, I didn't dislike this, but it wasn't good. And I suspect that's largely due in part to one, Toby's writing is just trash. These songs are all things you've heard 30 different times from 30 different bands.
Yes.
And also, I don't know if there's like a well-qualified producer involved in this, or somebody giving these singers some direction on Toby's stuff. But it seemed to be somebody told these singers to just do all of the laziest stuff that they would otherwise do on recordings. It's, hey, Adrian, lean into the parts where your voice does weird, cracky stuff, and you tail off at the end of a vocal line. Hey, Con, just I don't know, sound like a little nervous kid in the corner.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff. Well, you're Jeff.
Okay,
You're pretty
so
old now.
what probably happened was they probably all recorded these at whatever studio or at home and then sent him the tracks, and he was like, great, that'll do.
That'd be my concern. Yeah.
Not only have you heard all this before, you've literally heard it from Avantasia. That's, I think, the biggest issue with this album, is that it feels like retread even for Avantasia, and even the theme seems to be like a combination of the original Avantasia and Blind Guardian Imaginations from the Other Side. It's like, you don't fit in, but you love fantasy. What if you could go to a fantasy world and you'd be accepted there? And
that's how we get fellowship.
yes, and
which we don't want.
And it's like, also, since he's even already done it, only at least the original had like these additional like Gnostic themes. So it feels so like redone. Also, the lyrics. Oh man, I'm gonna look up some lyrics because they're so bad. There's some of the worst lyrics you ever heard. It's more impressive than getting Jeff Tate on this is that he got him to sing these lyrics.
Well, so I guess Tate has done 4 of these.
Has
I saw
he?
something about somebody was listing. I think it was a Reddit article. Somebody was listing that people have done Avantasia.
Apparently he
how many
did.
They've done, and
I didn't know he'd already done Avantasia because. Oh wait a minute! I've literally heard. Okay, the last one I heard was Ghost Lights, and that was so bad I didn't bother to listen to one again until now. And what the hell?
Well, the reasons we're paying attention to this is because it's got Tommy and Khan on the same record, not the same track, which, damn it, that's the shame.
Well, and I thought it was a big deal that Jeff Tate was on it, but apparently it's not.
Yep. And Adrian's on it, and she's great, but maybe not on this and stuff like that.
Well, at least she didn't do her goblin voice. I will say credit where credit is due. But the other, okay, well, we'll come back to that. I have comments on her track. First of all, okay, so Here Be Dragons is the title and the title track and the one with Jeff Tate on it.
Yes, it is.
Honestly, though, Jeff sounds fine. He sounds great.
Jeff sounded pretty good.
He gave up his super high stuff years ago, but like for the range he still sings in.
He has to.
You're right, exactly. But he still sounds great in the range he still sings in. It's just that he doesn't write anything good anymore, or maybe he never did because he had Chris DeGarmo. So if someone would actually write some good music and have Jeff Tate sing it, that would be fantastic. Any day now, if anyone wants to do that, since apparently he's willing to do Avantasia, he's available. He needs the work. He can still sing. He just needs someone to be like, "This here, sing this," and have it not suck. But
what you don't want: Rage for Order 2 and Empire 2 and Mindcrime 73.
Mindcrime 3 is coming, and oh boy, is it going to be bad.
I'm aware. Jesus Christ.
The lyrics, so bad. Okay, so like, there be dragons. First of all, he thinks this there be dragons, and then like there be magic, there be shadow. He thinks this is like a good motif. Repeat there, like, it's not. It sounds dumb. It sounds really dumb. Hideaway, neath an illusion. You believe you're deceived till your eyes will agree. Poise in confusion. What a night! What a show! What a diablerie! It's like, it's so bad. It's like he's trying so hard, and it's so awkward, and then he gets Jeff to sing some dumb crap too. He also literally references a bunch of in Moonflower Garden. He references a bunch of other Avantasia albums, several of which I haven't heard, and I have no intention of listening to now. But like, again, maybe this would make sense to like tie all your stuff together if it didn't also have the same theme as your first album. And it's like the Dark Tower but stupid, because the Dark Tower ties all of Stephen King stuff together in some weird way. But this is just it's bad. So this is maybe what's also funny about this song, the Here Be Dragons song, is that like, it sounds kind of like a tribute to Queensryche. It sounds like it's trying to be Queensryche-esque, but for some reason, just like a lesser track from Empire. It just sounds like one of the forgettable Empire tracks, and not like Mindcrime or Rage or anything. It's just like it's let's see, what else do I
How you want that to work out.
Yeah. Trying to discern if there's a story.
There's one of these that I know it's not the actual lyrics, and I've forgotten which song it was. I was trying to look it up but it sounds like he's really concerned about Felugians.
Felugians?
Because he's obviously saying something about illusions and blah, 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 blah. But I feel like almost every instance of it, it's preceded by the word "of" or something, and there's not any spacing between that. So
Felugian.
He's deeply concerned about the Felugians, and that's odd because I don't know very much about the Felugians, and I would assume Toby doesn't either.
I see what you're saying. Yes,
it sounded very silly. I couldn't help but thinking of it every time.
Yeah, it's very awkward. So I put down, like, I was trying to discern if there's a story, because again, it sounds like the concept is the same as the first one, but it used to be like an actual story, and then the guest singers would have like actual roles. And I don't know, maybe he gave that up a while ago. Maybe it's just phoning it in now, but like I never got the sense that any guest singer was an actual character. It was just sound like they just showed up on a track. Like, was Jeff Tate just Jeff Tate the whole time? I really couldn't tell.
It was the Moonlands at Twilight is the concerns about Felugians. It's the one with Kiski, which makes it that much better. No man nor beast would fear just a whim of illusions, just a whim of Felugians. It's fine.
Sure.
Just leave the poor people of Fallujah alone. They don't need that smoke.
Leave Fallujah alone.
You're going to hear it now. Now you're going to hear it when you listen to it. So sorry about that.
Don't worry, I'm not going to listen to it again. I've listened to it enough.
Well.
I'm pretty much done with it. But I found someone on Reddit saying how they felt it was very aggressively mastered, overly compressed. What they always say now is they can't wait for the vinyl master, because it'll have dynamic range and it won't be squashed. And which brings us back to the eternal debate. It's not even a debate. It's just that, like, the new trend now is destroy the digital master for no reason.
Right.
Because, for loudness war reasons. But like the loudness wars should be over. But some people still out there fighting. They don't know, like nobody's told them. But now the new thing is you do a dynamic master on the vinyl. And the thing is that vinyl, we should do like a separate episode about this at some point. This would be a good, like, not specific album topic about like vinyl has less dynamic range than digital files. And so, like, give me the dynamic master. Let me have it in a digital format. I don't have a record player. I don't want a record player. But like, no. If you want dynamic range, you need it on vinyl, which has less dynamic range. So
that makes perfect sense.
There's a perfect example of that on this album. The master is really aggressive and squashed and unpleasant, immediately ear fatiguing, not pleasant to listen to. But it brought me to find some other interesting Reddit comments, which was somebody saying, I'm very excited to finally see Adrian getting a track. And then someone said, would have loved it to be something longer and experimental, but she could have easily been given 2 tracks, given her talent and seeming lack of other women singers. And then someone said, as I already said in a different comment, Toby apparently only wants 1 female vocalist per album. I was like, and he said that in public?
That
seems bad.
Toby didn't say that
seems
public.
real bad.
I don't know. Need to see.
I don't know, or maybe he didn't say it, but maybe it's just like apparent, because apparently maybe there's just like 1 female singer per album.
This is Reddit, and people.
Yeah, but I mean, again, they're not wrong though. If it's true, like even if he didn't say it, if that's apparently how it's playing out, like it tells you something. And again, it used to be
he might only be able to get 1 lady to like deal with his shit at a time. It is
maybe
Toby, and he's Toby.
but apparently, they probably don't have to like see him or anything.
Maybe.
All right, so all that aside, whether or not that's his policy or just,
and I ignored a lot of that.
it stood out to me because again, I haven't listened to the last few, so I wouldn't have noticed it otherwise. But also, she could have been on more than one track. He used to do that. Like the first Avantasia, they were characters. A lot of them were on one track, but Michael Kiske was often on more than one track. And I guess now he's just like, listen, it's just a thing where I have people sing half the time, so I don't have to, and more people.
Well, that was another thing one of those guys brought up, actually, was that, like you said, with the original 1 or 2, where it was a thing and characters interacted with each other, and there were more than one guest singer on one track, or one singer would be on several tracks. Mm-hmm. There's absolutely none of that now. It is one singer, one track, and you're done. And that I think the guy had speculated had something to do with, well, Ed Guy's gone away, and this is no longer a side project for Toby. So now it's just like Toby's album, but the shtick is that he gets guest singers. So that's apparently what we're just doing, and it's just kind of, playing out the whatever. Oh, well, we gotta have guest singers, but it's my stuff now. It's not a fun thing we do. It's just the shtick.
But I mean, that's always been evident. Like, it was always like his side project. But it
was the side project before, whereas now it's not. Now it's
because it's probably more popular, and also
project.
Ed Guy got worse, and then I think I don't know if they broke up, but they just kind of stopped doing it. And
right.
But the thing is, like, since the beginning of Avantasia, it was obvious it was his deal, because in Ed Guy, I believe he would play keyboards or just sing, and he'd play keyboards in the album. And so this, you could tell it was written by a keyboard player, because it didn't have a ton of riffs. It was more just like chord progressions. And he clearly has some guitar player on this who he lets do a little bit of stuff, keep it interesting, but it's still just not super exciting. Although, okay, I did have a note that Unleash the Kraken, the riff sounds like The Needle Lies, except that it doesn't fit at all. And it's just, so I feel like there's definitely some Queensryche tribute on here. Unfortunately, very bad songs like the one he made Jeff sing. And then Avalon, the song with Adrian Cowan on it. Apparently, every power metal album now needs a song that sounds like it's doing like 80% of the melody from Somewhere in Time by Camelot, but then just like slightly less interesting.
It's a big song.
And Avalon, because remember there was
gotta copy shit apparently.
There was one on The Last Seven Spires, and I was like, okay, I get it. They're very influenced by Camelot, but now this one has it, and then Adrian's singing on it, and I'm like, and it just makes me want to listen to that Camelot album instead.
Yep.
I don't know. It's let's see.
Which is great, because it was the 20th anniversary of the Black Halo. So
yeah, the 20th anniversary of Mirror Black opening for Camelot on the Black Halo tour in St. Louis, or St. Paul, Minnesota, and no other dates. That is the 20th anniversary for all who celebrate. But actually, that might be fun. It might be fun to revisit. Black Halo is really good.
It really is.
You just do like a retro. We should do that. Unrelated. We should do that Rush retrospective too, because I've been listening to some Rush, and
50 years of Rush.
Always good. Everybody's Here Until the End. It still has the lyrics, "The dark is gently stroking over keepsakes in a dream." And my notes are gross. I don't need to know what the dark is doing. This sounds personal. Maybe you should be telling about in this song.
Well, I mean, this is still better writing than when Dream Theater, and then this happened, and then this happened.
That's true.
This is at least.
I was dead asleep.
Imagery.
I was dead asleep.
We get it. You were dead.
Dead.
No.
Asleep.
But. Anyway, but there's imagery here. The writing is not. It's silly. It's cheesy, but it's not.
The dark
absolutely stupid like that.
Is gently stroking. There's like a big
Maybe
pause after it too. You're like, the dark is gently stroking, and I'm like, why would you tell me that?
Better songwriters. Maybe we need to not listen to so much power metal. That might be my fault.
So another tradition of ours is when we happen to read somebody else's review. This one had some really pertinent things because it's often on Angry Metal Guy, Steel Drum, whatever, wrote a review of this, which is part of what struck my interest because it was A, I saw that Jeff Tate was on it. Sure. B, he seemed to like Ghost Lights, which I thought was absolutely terrible. I heard years ago, but thought that this was like worse. So like someone who likes the Avantasia I already think is bad was like, this wasn't that great. And so I was like, oh, this has got to be really bad. Let's check it out.
Yeah, perfect.
But what was really weird about it is that, for one, okay, he said that like Toby is always trying to sound like Meatloaf and Jim Steinman, or he even called him like his generation's Jim Steinman. Nothing on this album sounded like Meatloaf or Jim Steinman.
No,
in fact, the only track that did was Return to the Opera, which it turns out isn't on this album, is on the bonus second CD. And worse than that is he started the review with some crack about yacht rock, about Toby trying to do yacht rock.
That's right. I forgot all about that.
Right. And I was
like,
like,
make any sense. I don't understand.
It was like, I don't think you know what yacht rock is, because none of this is even like close to yacht rock. It's not even like yacht rock, where it's like the type of music that people mistake for yacht rock. So I have no idea. I don't think you have a...
Well, and even outside of just orally, from what yacht rock is, it's not like this came from a group of musicians in a scene that are the guys that you go to over and over and over because of how fucking amazing they are. And that's a big part of what yacht rock is. This is... we called in 7 or 8 people from all over the goddamn place, and they didn't add or do anything amazing, and they're just guests. If that was where he was going, is that there were different people who are otherwise pretty good at doing stuff?
I don't think so. I just think he doesn't know what yacht rock is, and
that
which is
would
not
be
uncommon.
my suspicion too.
And
but it's not
like,
that hard. There's a goddamn whole documentary about it.
When I listened, and by the way, we listened to Ghost Lights. It was a Your Music Is Bad episode, like years and years ago. At least I remember doing it. I assume that I edited it and uploaded it, or maybe I did. I don't know, but I remember listening to it.
I wasn't on that one, so
and thinking it was really bad. And that one, I vaguely remember, like maybe he was trying to do a Jim Steinman kind of thing, like. And then again, one of the bonus tracks on here, I don't know where it's from, but that actually had a kind of attempt at a Meatloaf thing. Not as good. Like, that's why you shouldn't call him like... So we were talking about how the review on Angry Metal Guy thought that it both sounded like Jim Steinman, which this one didn't.
No.
And even when he tried to, was not at... He's never... Tobias Sammet has never written anything on Jim Steinman's level. No. And also, the reviewer didn't know what yacht rock was. So... It is what it is. I don't know.
Yeah, they just need to not make yacht rock mentions on AMG. That's probably not in their wheelhouse. They like to use a lot of words to overdescribe things, and that's fine. That's why we go there. But that's not what yacht rock is. Yacht rock is too smooth for that many words.
Too smooth, and
better written.
Too good. Yeah.
Too
it
good.
implies a lot of quality that is not there.
Speaking of a lot of quality that's not there, I feel like there's probably a couple other singers on this record that we didn't talk much about, and that's possibly because they're not very good or not very important.
Oh my God.
Talked about Jeff. I think the Michael Kiske stuff is a given.
Tommy's track I barely noticed. The
it sounded just like easy Camelot. We didn't talk about this Ronnie Atkins guy on Phantasmagoria. Apparently he's the lead singer of Pretty Maids, which is a band that's been around since like 82. But
yeah,
I feel like every time this track came on and I was trying to pay attention to who was on it, I didn't pay attention because it was incredibly forgettable and just kind of sounded sort of like Toby, a little more gravelly. And then the next time I noticed anything happening, it was Bob Catley being really bad at singing. To the point where I had to notice it.
Is?
He was the lead singer of a band called Magnum. He has been on 8 of the Avantasia albums, so I'm guessing he's just Toby's buddy.
But
he's not good.
Yikes.
And I think I understood why he was on here, or on Avantasia Records, some of the earlier ones, because he's kind of doing a character. I feel like there was some older priest or some crap guy, and some of the ones where they were dealing with like the Inquisition-y stuff, and I think he probably worked for that. Here he just sounded, it was more like Bob Caterwally as opposed to Bob Catley. It sucked. He sucked really bad. He sounds terrible. He shouldn't do this anymore. Adrian, we talked about, and then there was this Kenny Leckramo guy who is the lead singer of Heat. Yes, I was very confused about who that was at first, honestly, because I had forgotten his name. I don't know how you forget a name like Kenny Leckramo, but the inclusion of AOR singers, I don't think is helping.
Yeah, I mean, I get the Pretty Maids guy because they've always kind of been popular with the early power metal crowd.
And he's done 4 of these records too. That Ronnie Adkins guy.
But yeah, it's like they didn't sound great, and like even the people who should have sounded great, like you said, the tracks weren't that interesting. I often would be like, okay, I noticed Michael Kiske, and I noticed Jeff Tate because he was early up front, and that's what I was listening to. The whole reason I was bothering to listen to the album at all.
Right.
And then Tommy's track flew by, and then I had to go back and listen to it again. Khan's track, I didn't notice. I had to go back and listen again. But that one I blame purely on him being underused, because like he sounded fine, but it wasn't interesting. It wasn't much of a part.
Right.
Although I think we agreed that like Seven Spiders also did the same thing on not their most recent album, but their album before that.
Yep.
And Adrian sounded okay, and at least was an appropriate track for her because, of course, it was Somewhere in Time by Camelot. Interpolated.
As one does.
Yeah, it was just like, again, there are moments where if you just want to hear some super mid sort of power metal, I could see why it might appeal. But
it's just fine background power metal. If you just want power metal on, but you don't want to acknowledge it or have any real reason to,
that's
perfect.
what kept happening when I tried to listen to it too. It kept like slipping into the background. Like I just couldn't focus on it for very long.
I think that's actually why I listened to it so many times, because oh shit, I missed most of it again. All right, here we go again. Let's see which track I get this time. Oh, none of them.
Yeah, it was. Oh man,
not the best. But it's I don't know. He's maybe he's done too many of these things. Maybe Avantasia needs to have run its course. I think there's a place.
Should have. Yeah.
Right. I think there's a place in the power metal world for fun guest singer laden stuff, and I don't just mean Camelot. Although that's kind of what Camelot's turned into a bit.
Now that I feel like, look, it was cool that he did that for a while. I think it worked on the first few, but I feel like he's dropped the ball now and is just maybe.
Well, his rating was kind of stale to begin with, and I think he probably doesn't have that many more buddies. It's just ready to go.
It's time to pass the torch. You're too old to rock.
No more rocking for you.
Well, so Prague has Arion, right? That's the Prague equivalent, guy who just keeps making albums and putting every other singer on it. And Avantasia was the power metal one, and now it's just somebody else should take over and start doing a.
Is it possible that it's just cursed because Jorn is not on this and he should have been?
Maybe there was a lot of complaints about that online too.
That's what I'm
Apparently,
saying.
It's been on
And
previous
suddenly
ones.
you lose the soul of the thing with the old grandpa sitting in a chair.
But I don't think he was on the first two, and those were the ones that I
Well, that's
liked
fair.
20 years ago,
That's
because at least it was mildly novel at the time.
it's
But
a little more coherent too, though.
yeah, and there were stories. People actually were a character,
Right.
and now they're just like, and then this guy.
But also
He's gonna
the
sing on the
early
song.
ones had on top of Kiski, there was also Kai Hansen and I think Andre Matos, and
Yes.
obviously Andre's gone.
He is.
Is Kai Hansen too busy for Avantasia?
It's not like
I would assume not.
you got to work with what you got. Look, he made some decent selections. Tommy's okay. Tommy's very like technically good. It's just that I find all the Camelot with him boring. And also, I almost forgot. Seventh Wonder is a wildly terrible band. Let's not forget that. And that their logo, if you turn it 90 degrees, is the Scientology logo, which
yeah, that happened.
that means something. That probably doesn't mean anything, because if it was, they would be like successful and you would have heard of them. But only power
controversial.
prod people have heard of them because it's really bad.
Right.
But he got Khan, who's been making the rounds again. He got Adrian, and he got Jeff Tate, which apparently now I got to go back and listen to some of the earlier ones because apparently he already had Jeff Tate.
Congratulations. You have
apparently
three
Jeff,
more Avantasia albums that you have to
they're
listen
going to be
to.
bad.
Aren't you excited?
I really don't have to. Like, I know what the
No,
they're
you
gonna be
have
like.
to.
They're gonna
You know
be
you have
bad.
to. It's for the show, Matt.
Look,
Do
it's
it for
not
the good of the
Mindcrime
show.
3. We did Ghost Lights, which apparently the Angry Metal Guy reviewer thought was one of the good ones.
Yikes.
It's not. So I didn't listen to any of the ones since then because that one was terrible, but fans of Avantasia thought it was good. So therefore, if they continue to think they're good, I don't care. But then they thought this one was less good, and so I was like, oh, that's got to be real bad. And it was, but it also just kind of boring a lot
The
of the
last
time.
one of these I listened to was the one with Alice Cooper and the toy maker or whatever, and I feel like that's several albums, maybe
Oh,
even
yeah.
before what you're talking about now. So
Before
that's,
Ghost Lights, though? I don't know. Ghost Lights was a long time ago.
Henjo Richter was on that too. That was the Scarecrow, which was
Okay, yeah, I remember.
third Avantasia album.
Yeah, that's
this
still
was like
Ghost
the
Lights
eighth
was
or
that was
ninth?
2008. Ghost Lights was 2016.
Oh,
It
so
was
this is
over
quite a
by,
bit before
already by
that.
Ghost Lights. Yeah, I didn't. I think there's a bit of a gap. I listened to the first two, 2001, 2002. By 2008, I did not care. I did not. But people do mention the Scarecrow as being one of the good ones. There's like an EP in 2007.
And you know who else was on that? Khan.
Yeah.
This had Khan, Yorn, Kiski, Bob Catley again, because of course it did. Amanda Somerville, I can't remember which band she was in. Gal
Plus, I
Cooper.
bet it still had a story and characters. Maybe
It
we'll
absolutely
revisit
did,
the
yes.
Scarecrow because it's supposed to be good, and we'll see when we get bored with other stuff. We'll do a Rush retrospective because it's good. Call it episodes something like Rush is a good band.
Rush is a good band, and you should feel good about it.
Yeah, Rush the music is good and it makes you feel good.
There's a new The Darkness album that dropped. I haven't listened to it yet.
Look,
there is, and
he already
I
told
don't-
us about how he's gently stroking over Keepsake's injury. I don't want to see that. I don't want the Darkness album to tell me about how he's stroking and what he's stroking over. I don't need any of
That's
that.
fair.
So
There's something else that came out that the person responsible is, I guess, a controversial figure. Steven Wilson?
yeah. So did you check it out yet? Because
Yes. I have.
all right. Is
Have
it
you?
worth? No, because
Oh.
I haven't. Steven Wilson's solo run from like The Raven That Wouldn't Sing and like the couple albums after that, maybe one before that, they were decent, but like I liked a couple of them. I went to see him around that time and it was good because he assembled a good band. Then he started getting Guthrie Govan on guitar, The Raven That Wouldn't Sing. The one before that, I forget what it was, but that was pretty decent too, and a decent live show. But then it started to kind of sound like the same thing. Then he did some weird Hand Cannot Erase. Seemed interesting, but I only listened to it once, and I never wanted to listen to it again. Angry Metal Guy had a good point, which was that he then said in an interview that it was about some woman who like died in her apartment, and then no one found her, and he was like, it was a very sad story. But then he said it was also about his career, and it was like, have you considered shutting up and like climbing out of your own asshole? Like maybe just so. And then there was an album where he like tried to go pop or something, and everyone was like, no,
well, this was not that.
That's not happening. So
this,
I don't know.
This had Floyd to it. This had Beatles to it.
I assume he's past that and
bassiness to it.
Okay. Well,
it sounded good. It sounded a little too British for my taste in places. I don't know. I haven't listened to a lot of Steven Wilson. It just was a thing that came up while I was paying attention to music releases around the time. So I was like, well, let her rip.
I'm willing to listen to it.
It's fine
for podcasting purposes. But I don't know if I'll have much to say about it because I really lost interest in his stuff
I understand.
a little while ago.
Oh, I know another album that the new Coheed and Cambria is out.
Oh yeah,
I have some opinions about that as well.
I could check that out.
There's at least one other album that I forgot about already. There's been a lot of music coming out, and there's more music coming out, and I think there's new Children of not Children of what's his face? The other guy, Danny Filth, Cradle of Filth. I don't know. That's I don't know why I confused those names. Yes, but there's new Cradle of Filth. There's I don't think that's out yet. I want to say there's new Behemoth or Behemoth or however you like to say that. I don't think that's out yet either. I believe that's The Shit of God.
Oh yeah,
it's called.
I heard
with OV of course for O.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. There's a lot of music out there, and there's plenty to talk about. It's just a matter of if it's interesting and worth talking about.
Yep.
I don't think that Steven Wilson album is an episode. It might be a half of an episode where we talk about something that's not good and something that is good.
Yeah. And then we'll do some more like the Rush retrospective would be a good one to do a bunch of episodes of something we like.
Like the Black Halo.
Oh yeah, that would be a fun like we could even do a whole like early Camelot retrospective.
Yes.
And
we should definitely do that.
Complain about late Camelot or something. Although actually like there was a new Camelot a year or two ago where people were like, this is the best one in a long time. And I don't think I really bothered to check it out.
I checked it out.
Yeah. Was it lies? Was it like just okay?
It was oversold.
Yeah. I might have listened to it, but if I did, that means it was I don't remember it at all.
I think that's the problem with what I'm going to call late stage Camelot.
Yeah.
Is it's all the same.
It's the same.
I mean, it's still power metal, so it's kind of what you signed up for.
Yeah, and like there are worse bands. Like that's the point. Like
yes.
Thomas Youngblood is pretty good at what he does, but at some point you kind of don't have a ton of new ideas, and so you're kind of just reworking your old ideas, and usually that's when you started to get paid, and so you're like, well, I'm not gonna stop getting paid. Like when Portnoy left Dream Theater, and actually it turns out, I always thought Portnoy was right, but turns out I was wrong. He came back, same shit.
Hey, speaking of which, there's new Arch Enemy too. I just remembered about which is now sans Loomis. I would guess it's
going to sound the same minus the occasional guitar solo with a lot of wind.
I think I listened to it once so far.
They weren't letting him write anything anyway.
Right.
So it's just like the solos will be somebody else. Do you know who replaced him? Did they get somebody else significant?
I want to say it's Joey Concepcione or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Joey Concepcion.
He's from something, but whatever. I don't care.
Something like that. Some guy.
More interested in what Jeff ends up doing with whoever they picked from the internet.
Right.
And
should be good.
And still fingers crossed maybe they'll surprise us and do content.
I wouldn't bet on it.
They gotta You got to get with the times, man. You got to.
Well, no, this is their
Primus
content
did
now.
it.
They're teasing us by saying, "Hey, we picked new stuff, and fuck you if you wanted to know what it is."
Yeah.
But that's going to be another post that is much later and has no coherency or consistency, and still isn't content. It's just slowly released for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, Primus just did it. I don't care that much about Primus, but I almost watched it anyway because that's the point of content.
Throw it out there. Throw it on the internet. People watch it.
I
hopefully.
know a drummer who tried out for Primus, Mike Stone, and he's pretty good. And might still watch. I at least want to see his audition at some point. Because they recorded it on video cameras, like in your phone, and then they put it on the YouTubes, the thing that people watch more than TV.
To be fair, Primus is a much bigger band than Nevermore.
That's true. I do
probably a
suspect-
more fun fan base.
To be fair to Nevermore, I suspect they can't afford to fly people out to audition or whatever else. Like,
Sure, but you know what you can do? Is you can have an online meeting where one person or more than one person is on one camera and another person is on another camera, just like we're doing.
They
And
probably
you can record it.
I would hope they at least
Just
did
like we're
that
doing.
to like meet whoever they decided to hire. But it is less interesting than actually playing with them. But at least I don't know. Like I bet they won't.
What your producer types are for. Is
Yeah.
here's a clip of a thing that we got from you, interspersed with clips of us talking with you, etc., etc.
Yeah,
That's content.
that would be content if they did it. It would be nice, but I feel like it's gonna be nothing new until there's a song, and it's gonna kind of sound like Nevermore, and we're gonna be
Maybe.
like some guy. Well, no, they'll probably like tell us who won, and then you can watch their karaoke auditions, and it's gonna be like, could have seen those already anyway, because nobody read the instructions that it was supposed to be a private YouTube link, and everyone posted their audition immediately. But they're not gonna care.
It's
Hell.
it's fine.
They probably just was like, who got the most views on YouTube? All right, you're hired.
Oof. It's
They
possible.
probably did. They probably
Yikes.
don't know how that works. They probably don't know how to read
God.
analytics.
Oh God.
It's
But who really does? Analytics. It's all made up. It's all fuzzy numbers. It's fine. Fuzzy.
it's
math.
literally how many people watch the thing. It's not.
Yes, but half of them aren't even real people. It's all bots. It's bots watching bots. It's bots all the way down.
There are a lot of bots. There's a lot of bots, but
It's fine.
not this podcast.
Anyway,
no bots.
No, not
and
this
that's
podcast.
Why
This podcast
no
has two guys
purely
that are a little bit full of
human
shit.
viewers, and that's why there aren't very many of them. Someday,
Don't you want to come to this podcast to watch us run out of stuff to talk about before we figure out how to end an episode by reminding you to click like and subscribe, because that means you can easily watch more of the end of episodes where we also have a little bit forgotten what the hell's going on.
do
But
the
that happens. Yeah, thumbs up that shit.
no. You should click the like. Apparently, likes matter more now. Like no one cares about subscribe. Doesn't matter other than
No, that's so you can see it again soon when we do
Yeah.
more things. It might tell you
except
about it.
YouTube. No, it won't though. YouTube
supposed
doesn't
to.
care what you're subscribed to. It's
God
lies.
fucking
It's
damn it.
all lies. It doesn't care. It'd be wonderful if you subscribe because
Yes, please do
humans
that.
still think that matters. But it turns out it doesn't. It doesn't. YouTube is just like we don't care what you're subscribed to. We know what you like. Even though you don't, we're gonna show you whatever we feel like.
I'm
I
actually
want
kind
for
of
it to be
looking
good,
forward to this new The Darkness album, so I think that's my next big listen.
All
We'll
right.
see how that goes.
All right. Let me know if it's worth checking out. I have
Oh, I will
some
do that.
driving to do, so I can.
Cast magic missiles on The Darkness.
But is he going to be gently stroking over keep
Well,
fakes.
probably. Well, there'll be stroking. I mean, it's
That's what I'm saying.
it's Justin Hawkins, and that seems to be his direction of stuff. And he's got a YouTube channel, and he likes to
He's
talk
very
about
active.
people.
Yeah.
Yes, he's very active. So, I mean, if we could
Good for him. He knows
accidentally
how to do
talk about
content.
Justin Hawkins a whole bunch and get a mention, that would be terrible. I would hate that.
I can't wait to listen
Hi,
to
Justin.
the Darkness album. Okay. All right, now I'm listening to the new The Darkness album.
Absolutely, that'll be good.
All right.
It's the best.
Maybe it is the best. I haven't heard it yet. Well,
Nah, I haven't either.
maybe it'll
We'll
be
see.
the best. Whatever algorithmically is most like to
Good.
inflame the all right, you should click on a thing or leave us a comment about how Here Be Dragons is good actually, or tell us which Avantasia album is that you think is good. That is probably not, as long as it's not Ghost Lights, because I heard that crap already. Sucked. Fucking garbage.
All right. That's enough of that.